Thank you, Nikhil, for your kind words of introduction. Uh, Dr. Nikhil, Dr. Vagesh, Dr. Ganpati, Ma'am Durusha, Dr. Madhuri Patel. You have given this topic, association of early menarche, age, and overweight and obesity. That's the key. And prevention of metabolic syndrome in adolescent PCOS is the overarching theme. And obviously, this is a huge area of interest for all of us. So the first thing is the childhood obesity and its impact on development of adolescent PCOS. Clearly, as Dr. Ganpati and Dr. Durusha said, obesity exacerbates reproductive and metabolic manifestations of polycystic ovarian syndrome. And the symptoms of PCOS often begin in adolescence, and there is a rising prevalence of peripubertal obesity, which has prompted concern for prevalence and severity of adolescence, which is increasing in parallel. So clearly, is there a role of childhood obesity and its impact on development of adolescent PCOS? And what is the link between androgens, excess, and insulin resistance? There is some very compelling and recent data, including Indian data, including published by NIRRH, that has disclosed that there is a very high prevalence of hyperandrogenemia in peripubertal adolescents with obesity, suggesting such girls are indeed at risk for developing PCOS. Obesity may impact the risk of PCOS via insulin resistance and a compensatory hyperinsulinemia, which augments the ovarian and adrenal androgen production and suppress the sex hormone binding globulin or SHBG. So clearly this is a very, very important entity. And when you have augmentation of ovarian or adrenal androgens and suppression of SHBG, the overall androgen bioavailability is increased. We also know that altered LH secretion plays a crucial role in pathophysiology of PCOS. And although obesity is generally associated with relative reductions of LH, higher LH appears to be the best predictor of increased free testosterone among peripubertal girls with obesity. And I'll come back to that a little later when we discussed about the early menarche. The other potential mechanisms of obesity induced or associated hyperandrogenemia include enhanced androgen production from the fat mass. When you have extra fats, it becomes an excellent site for androgen production. And clearly it is also a site for production of abnormal adipokines and cytokines, which can be deleterious to health in general. So that is the overarching background. So let us look at data and let us look at obesity associated hyperandrogenemia in peripubertal girls. And from this slide, you can very clearly see the free testosterone concentration in obese peripubertal girls can be partitioned in the various pubertal stages. Early pubertal Tanner breast stage 2 or Tanner stage 1 with the estradiol of more than 20 picograms. Mid-pubertal Tanner breast stage 3 or late pubertal, and Tanner breast stages 4 and 5 in the late pubertal stage. You can see in the shaded box, they represent a normal range of free testosterone in each pubertal group. And you can clearly see that obesity is directly linked to the androgen excess in peripubertal girls, whether it is early puberty, whether it is mid-puberty, or whether it is late puberty. So this is a fact to be noted. So obviously, adolescents with PCOS are risk at comorbidities at a very, very young age, at a very tender age, such as metabolic syndrome, impaired glucose tolerance, and concomitant obesity compound these risks. For all these reasons, weight loss is a very, very important therapeutic target for obese adolescents with PCOS. We all know, PCOS is a major cause for subfertility, infertility, type 2 diabetes, and metabolic syndromes. And it's a major women's public health and health issue. Now, what is the influence of obesity on prevalence of PCOS on adults? There is extensive research that the precise origins of PCOS remain enigmatic, and the underlying pathophysiological mechanisms are only partly understood. But obesity with a BMI about 25 or a BMI for age percentile more than 95 in children is widely believed today. There is reasonable evidence of A level to suggest that it will contribute to the pathophysiology of PCOS and negatively influence the clinical expression, which includes its impact on menstrual function and early thelarchy and menarche both. Manifestations of PCOS typically begin in early adolescence And many investigators worldwide, including that from India, including that from people like, Dr. Bhagwat from Nayar Hospital, or Dr. Nalini Shah from KEM Hospital, and many others across India have shown and hypothesized that peripubertal obesity promotes development of adolescent PCOS. We have seen this consistently. We have also published some data some 20 years back. But one thing is very clear-cut, that adipose tissue mass and function, regulation of that and reproductive function is highly complex. And there are innumerable genetic and environmental influences in this area. Most data of PCOS was originally derived from adult studies, while some studies have suggested that prevalence of PCOS is increased among women with obesity, which is others or not. So remember, BMI has directly been linked here. For example, estimation of PCOS was 28% in women with a BMI more than 25 who were referred to an academic endocrinology clinic for weight loss. And it was 5.5% in lean women in the same clinic in Madrid, Spain. In contrast, a study undergoing pre-employment physicals in University of Alabama in Birmingham in US, subjects who had not selected either for PCOS or obesity, there was a 12% prevalence, which is demonstrably higher than people with a lower BMI. So clearly we know that obesity is the prime driver. And the odds drivers in a recent meta-analysis has shown is 1.73 relative risk of central obesity. So central obesity is clearly associated with a more severe PCOS phenotype, and it is also called sometimes a metabolic phenotype. And there are abnormalities in the adipocytes of these women with reduced insulin sensitivity, lower lipoprotein lipase activity. There is altered sensitivity to the lipolytic effects of catecholamines, so on and so forth. We are thin fat Indians. We have more fat, less muscles. And all this starts developing at the age 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So it's getting earlier and earlier and earlier. We are getting sarcopenia. We are getting adipose abdominal obesity. It is genetic, probably yes. Environmental, probably yes. We are getting sedentary. We are getting affluent. We are seeing small children who are using gadgets. And obviously, for the same BMI, we have a different body composition. Our lean mass is shrinking and our fat mass is going up. And we have more fat, less muscle, clearly, mitochondrial defects. And clearly, PCOS is an insulin-resistant androgen excess state. But the key which we have to discuss today is the physiological changes in normal puberty overlap with the findings of PCOS. And therefore, diagnosing PCOS in adolescents is a very controversial topic, which is why this current topic is not an easy topic to handle. When there is intractable prepubertal obesity with severe insulin resistance, it can herald later development of PCOS. Yet studies have linked adolescent obesity with later PCOS and infertility. There has been a longitudinal population-based study suggesting obesity at age 14 is associated with 61% higher risk of symptoms of PCOS at 31 years of age. A large case control study in the US nurses with higher BMI at age 18 predicted infertility and later ovulatory dysfunction. So although obesity is commonly believed as a risk factor for development of adolescent PCOS, the quantitative impact of this remains unclear. So what really makes the difference? Well, what happens is very illustrated in this graph. This is the key feature, that adipose tissue excess, which has a lot of low-grade inflammation, abnormal cytokines, adipokines, dysregulation of fatty acid metabolism, leads to selective tissue insulin resistance. It leads to compensatory hyperinsulinemia. In the liver, it leads to reduced SHBG production, which will lead to increased free testosterone, which will also ensure that at the hypothalamo-pituitary level, the LH and FSH pulses, ACTH pulses are affected. The adrenal androstenedione, ovarian testosterone, all of them will lead to overregulation of an androgenic milieu. This will lead to a higher GnRH pulse frequency and relatively high LH and low FSH. And that is the key which leads to many of the manifestations. And typically, this is what has been seen. There has been seen, and this is the topic given to me, at early menarche age with obesity and overweight. Girls who are experiencing early menarche are significantly more overweight and obese. And overweight and obesity is now considered as one of the predictors of occurrence of early menarche. Let us look at the topic. Over the last 30 years, there has been a steady increase in overweight overall in all groups from children to adults across all geographies of the world, high income, low income, and middle income. So there are serious health consequences in public health, and overweight and insulin resistance and diabetes will alter two hormones, leptin and insulin. and they both play a very important role in the timing of puberty and progression of puberty. So obviously, due to leptin and insulin and its impact on the timing of puberty, we are getting an earlier menarche, which is very obvious. We must take into account that worldwide there has been an explosion of diseases of non-communicable nature, including cancer. And all of them are linked to obesity addressed in early life. And obviously, the Obesity Commission worldwide is concerned about the early childhood obesity. So one thing is very clear-cut, that in early adolescence, obesity has an important impact on health, leading to an early pubertal onset in an androgenic milieu manifested by earlier thelarchy and menarche. So now, beyond reasonable doubt, this fact has been established. There are several theories, and currently there is no documentation which explain the trend towards earlier puberty, why it has occurred. Is it environmental toxins? Is it socioeconomic status? We don't know. One thing is clear-cut, that nutritional status, particularly related to adipose tissue, plays an essential role in timing and progression of puberty. So this is the crucial role, that clearly the BMI, the body fat mass, is the switch which under an androgenic environment is clearly playing a role in the early timing of puberty and progression of puberty. What remains to be seen and elucidated still is whether weight gain precedes early puberty and early puberty predisposes to an abnormal weight gain or both. So this complex cycle, the only unknown in that is what comes first, the chicken or the egg. Is weight gain first or early puberty first? Is early puberty predisposing to abnormal weight gain, or is it simultaneous? That's the only unanswered question. But one thing is clear-cut, that obesity is linked to early thelarche, early menarche. Probably it is linked to the nutritional status, BMI and fat mass. It creates an androgenic milieu, and it's clearly linked to environmental toxins and socioeconomic status. So there are a lot of data now to suggest the earlier menarche in girls linked to increased BMI. And we know that it could be starting right at birth. The fat mass at birth or early childhood leads to rapid increase in BMI during infancy, and that can clearly predict early onset of puberty. So if you get a snapshot in utero or at birth of the body fat, probably you can predict this early onset of puberty. So that's where the trend is coming. Well, obviously PCOS genotype-phenotype relationships are complex. We know there are several Asian phenotypes which are emerging. Insulin resistance is the key and is the root cause of PCOS. And we know it has features of all these complications, but we need treatments for that. And metformin, somebody was alluding to, I think Dr. Bhagwat was alluding to it, Dr. Ganpati was alluding to it, clearly has an anti-androgen effect. And as endocrinologists, we love the drug. We know it has a lot of evidence. But if you see in each stage of women with PCOS, insulin resistance is improved by metformin. And I would like you to focus only on the early slide of PCOS with menstrual irregularities. Clearly, data in that direction with metformin exists. And clearly, we have data to show that in this group, metformin improves endocrine milieu. It improves the FSH, the HOMA-IR, and that data is pretty clear-cut. So these are my final slides. Maybe I have overshot my time a little bit. PCOS is a heterogeneous disorder. It's a collection of various clinical manifestations influenced by numerous influences. As such, in presence or absence of syndrome, in addition to degree of phenotypic and pathophysiological manifestations, it's a cumulative effect of multiple interacting components. However, obesity is neither sufficient nor necessary for development of PCOS. It is clearly an important factor to contribute to the presence and severity of PCOS in adolescents. So even though one thing is clear-cut, that obesity has some driving element and the severity of PCOS is clearly linked to it. Clearly, puberty represents a crucial stage window during obesity-related hyperinsulinemia and androgen excess, which may promote development of PCOS. So obviously, some girls with obesity, hyperinsulinemia related to augmentation of adrenal and ovarian androgen production, while others will have obesity-related androgen excess, which will promote rapid day and night GnRH pulse frequency, which will turn the relative LH excess and FSH deficiency. All these gonadotropic secretion abnormalities ultimately consolidate with androgen excess, interfere with follicle maturation, promote development of full-blown PCOS. Obviously, future research which we should do should understand the relative impact of sources and determinants of androgen excess with some peripubertal goals in obesity. We need to delineate the natural history of androgen excess in peripubertal goals with obesity. We need to elucidate mechanisms of androgens which may contribute to the altered pubertal GnRH secretion. And we clearly need to discover early predictors of development established PCOS girls with obesity. Obviously, we need to understand that adolescent girls with obesity should be asked for PCOS. We need to screen them for PCOS. We need to screen them for obesity, and we need to treat them aggressively. We need to ensure that we need to promote healthy lifestyle. We need to get them to remove their fat and build some muscle. We definitely need to ensure that they eat less, they eat on time, they eat slowly, they eat in the morning, not skip their breakfast, they eat right, walk more, sleep well, and smile. And clearly, we need to do digital detox in these current times. So I think early menarche is having a direct link with obesity. And we have data to suggest that it's a complex environment. It is an area of research, but the direction is very clear-cut. Thank you for the opportunity, both by PCOS Society and Endocrine Society, for involving me in this meeting.